Emotional breakdown. By the way, and our worry to collectively as a country tonight is many Americans may end up getting hurt or worse as the Trump hate hysteria has literally taken over. And literally, we got a year and a half into the Trump presidency, and many Democrats, liberals, are now directing their unhinged rage at those who now work and support the president and his agenda. Homeland Security Secretary Kristen Nielsen, she is run out of a restaurant by angry protesters. Others show up at Nielsen's home, even a Hollywood actor saying the most vile things about her. You got Press Secretary Sarah Sanders was thrown out of a restaurant in Lexington, Virginia this weekend. We got the Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi harassed at a movie theater in Florida. Even the president's 12-year-old son and 4-year-old granddaughter subject to a series of despicable attacks. And now, two particularly deranged Democratic lawmakers are urging their followers to target Trump allies wherever they go. Now, this disgusting vitriol is out of control, and as I said, someone, frankly, is going to get hurt or, frankly, killed. This is not a game anymore. But these tactics, we'll have a Hannity history lesson tonight, are nothing new. And in a few minutes, we're going to give you that history lesson into how Democrats use identity politics to divide rich versus poor, old versus young, and along racial lines and everywhere in between. We've got the evidence. And also, we have highlights from the president's latest political rally, which you just saw. Plus, we have so many developments to bring you surrounding Mueller's witch hunt, along with really bizarre behavior from actor Tom Arnold, and more from Rosenstein's ongoing obstruction. And breaking tonight, The Hill's John Solomon is now reporting James Comey personally killed an immunity deal with Julian Assange. In other words, the one guy that could have given us evidence. Where did the emails come from? Russia or somewhere else? Apparently, he's saying he could have proved it. Sit tight. Monday's almost over, and it's time for our very important breaking news opening monologue. All right, the president just wraps up another huge rally, this time in West Columbia, South Carolina, where he took on critics, he pushed his agenda, and so much more. Let's take a look.
Remember what I said. We're going to start winning again. We're winning. We're winning now. Like we haven't won before. Like we have not won before. We're winning with our military. Our military is now being built up like you wouldn't believe. We're winning with our military. We're winning on trade. We're winning on trade. We're defending our borders. Because if you don't have borders, you don't have a country. You don't have a country. No, it's happening. That's happening. Well, it's happening. It's not build that wall anymore. It's continue building that wall because we're building it.
Let's build that wall. And by the way, we're almost a year and a half into the Trump presidency. Many on the left, this is now serious. They are totally, completely, utterly psychotic and unhinged. Now, remember, this wasn't supposed to happen. Donald Trump was never supposed to be elected by you, the people. In fact, when he was inaugurated in January of last year, remember many on the left, many Democrats melting down, lashing out with threats of violence directed at President Trump and the White House himself? Let's bring you down memory lane.
Yes, I'm angry. Yes, I am outraged. Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president? I want to clarify, I'm not an actor. I lie for a living. However, it's been a while, and maybe it's time.
Now just imagine for a second, this was said about Obama in the early months of him becoming president. And let's not forget about Kathy Griffin's bloody severed Trump head photo shoot, Robert De Niro fantasizing about punching the president in the face and telling him to F off every other day. Here is why, let me explain why this is all happening. The left, not only, they never expected Donald Trump to win. They never thought he'd be this successful. He is a threat to everything wrong about them. His success is the left's worst nightmare. In other words, they need Donald Trump to fail if the Democrats ever want to regain power. Well, that one's their power they're hoping for. They have to pray for failure. That means you fail. That means America fails. That means the forgotten men and women will continue to be forgotten. You know, Bill Maher, probably the only honest one, he's hoping for a recession. Really? Doesn't affect him. Now, here we are, 1.5 years into the presidency of Donald Trump. What do we see? In 500 days, the economy's booming. Record unemployment rates in 14 states. We have more jobs than people on unemployment. We have literally the lowest unemployment ever recorded for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, women in the workplace. We have the highest GDP growth in over a decade. We have the lowest tax cuts, the biggest tax cut we've ever had. We've had a demolishing of burdensome regulations. We had successful negotiations so far that are ongoing with North Korea. ISIS is defeated and on the run. The Iranian stupid deal of Obama's dead. Jerusalem, promised by so many presidents, is now the capital of Israel, and so much more. With each success, the Democrats' dreams of kicking Trump out of office becomes more faint and more remote, and now they feel it, and they're lashing out. They don't like his success. That's why it's getting louder and more insane by the day. And the left is actually now targeting those who actually work and support President Trump. Look at this. New Jersey so-called Senator, President wannabe Cory Booker, is calling for Americans to confront Trump officials. Look at Maxine Waters. Well, she's been calling for Trump's impeachment since almost his first day in office. Well, Maxine Waters is urging supporters to accost Trump allies wherever they go. This is dangerous. Watch.
You have members of your cabinet that are being booed out of restaurants, who have protesters taking up at their house, who's saying no peace, no sleep. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Now, naturally, those associated with President Trump, they're now being targeted by America's viciously angry left wing all over the country. They're doing it to women and children. Now, listen to what happened to Florida Attorney General. She'll join us in just a few minutes, Pam Bondi, this weekend as she goes to see the Mr. Rogers movie. Take a look.
3 huge guys came up and started probably an inch from my face, screaming at me every word in the book, cursing as loud as they could. So then my trooper came up, and my boyfriend and I got our tickets, we're headed in, and then they ran in and circled me where I could not get into the theater. They stopped me. So he came up then and stopped them. So then we went in the theater, thought it was diffused. We're up getting popcorn at the concession stand, and they came up again, just every curse word in the book. And they're this far from my face. One spit on my head. Now, I can't say that was intentional because he was yelling so loud. I don't know if it was just him spewing out of his mouth.
Picking on women and children. Now, the Attorney General will be here in a few moments. She'll give us more details on that. And she's only the latest Trump ally to be targeted. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders was literally thrown out of this weekend in a restaurant in Lexington, Virginia, named the Red Hand. Take a look.
Many by now have heard that I was asked to leave a restaurant this weekend where I attempted to have dinner with my family. My husband and I politely left and went home. I was asked to leave because I work for President Trump. We are allowed to disagree, but we should be able to do so freely and without fear of harm. And this goes for all people regardless of politics. Some have chosen to push hate and vandalism against the restaurant that I was asked to leave from. A Hollywood actor publicly encouraged people to kidnap my children. And this weekend, a member of Congress called for people to push back and make clear to those serving their country in this administration that they are not welcome anywhere, anytime, for anything. Healthy debate on ideas and political philosophy is important, but the calls for harassment and push for any Trump supporter to avoid the public is unacceptable.
Again, threatening women and children. What is wrong with you people on the left? And according to Sanders' father, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, the harassment did not end there. Listen to what he says.
Once Sarah and her family left, and of course Sarah was asked to please vacate, Sarah and her husband just went home. They had sort of had enough. But the rest of her family went across the street to a different restaurant. The owner of the Red Hen, because nobody's told this, then followed them across the street, called people, and organized a protest, yelling and screaming at them from outside the other restaurant and creating this scene.
Now, following this incident, the president tweeted out, quote, "The Red Hen restaurant should focus more on cleaning its filthy canopies, doors, and windows, badly needs a paint job, rather than refusing to serve a fine person like Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I always had a rule. If a restaurant is dirty on the outside, it's dirty on the inside." But what is dirty here is dirty political discrimination from the Red Hen, coming just a few days after our DHS Secretary, Kirstjen Nielsen, Secretary Nielsen, run out of a ADC restaurant by a group of other angry left-wing protesters. This is getting out of control. Take a look.
Secretary Nielsen, how dare you spend your evening here eating dinner as you're complicit in the separation and deportation of over 10,000 children separated from their parents.
Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen is in a Mexican restaurant of all places. The goal. Shame on you!
Shame! Shame! Shame!
Shame! Shame!
Shame! Shame! Shame! Shame!
Fascist pig!
And it gets worse. On Friday morning, more protesters surrounded Secretary Nielsen's home, blasting audio recordings of crying children. And as it turns out, no one associated with Donald Trump is now safe from what is now a mob mentality of the left. Not even children are safe, as you just saw with Sarah Huckabee. Last week, we first reported the president's 12-year-old son, the target of a vile attack, just like Secretary Nielsen, on Twitter from Peter Fonda. Yeah, Hanoi Jane's brother. And she tweeted in part, quote, "We should rip Barron Trump from his mother's arms, put him in a cage with pedophiles, and see if the mother will stand up against the giant blob that she's married to." Now, President Trump's 4-year-old granddaughter was also threatened on Twitter by a Canadian writer. Now, both these people, okay, they apologize for these horrific threats. Where are the arrests? You know what? You're not allowed to threaten the first family. What about Madonna? You're thinking an awful lot about blowing up the White House? Secret Service ever talked to her? Where's the compassion of the left? I thought the Democratic Party had a monopoly on love and peace and compassion. Apparently not. Now, of course, you wouldn't know the extent of this vitriol if you only watch the mainstream media. Check this out. In fact, according to a report, Newsbusters, your establishment, corrupt, destroy Trump media in America totally ignored the story about Trump's 4-year-old granddaughter. And while the left's anti-Trump rage is spinning out of control, well, some in the media, as sick as they are actually adding fuel to the fire. They can't control themselves. They've all lost it. Take a look.
The problem that Sarah Sanders had over the weekend, which is a absolutely legitimate problem, but who cares?
Should someone who lies constantly and enables the president's lies be openly welcomed in society wherever they please? Should they face any kind of social or societal pressure? I'm increasingly weighing towards yes.
Is it okay that these people can't go to restaurants and get heckled?
I think that that's speaking truth to power, literally. Let's be honest. To me, that's what America's about. People in power, speaking to them, sharing your views.
Look, you make choices in life. You make choices in life. And there is a cost to being an accomplice to this cruel, deceitful administration.
Let's just take a step back and remember all this hatred coming from the left was initially spurred over reports that children were being forcibly separated from their parents after attempting to cross the U.S.-Mexico border illegally. And it was Donald Trump last week. He never made that law. That law was passed by Congress, signed into law by another president. But he did sign an executive order halting any separation of families until Congress can step up, do their job, and change the law as they should have done a long time time ago, but that didn't stop many of these crazies on the left from demonizing Donald Trump. Many cheered, for example, this Time magazine cover. You see that? There's the big, bad, horrible president and a little girl who's crying because that little girl, according to Time magazine, had been separated from her mother and father. Well, the only problem is the girl was never separated from her mother or father, ever. The magazine cover, like so much in the news today, is a lie. And Time, believe it or not, is standing by their cover for sale now at a bookstore near you. And then the media wonders why the American people call them fake news, why they chant CNN sucks. You wonder why Americans don't trust you? Now, the truth is so many in the left-wing media, they're not fair. They're not balanced journalists, as they claim to be. Instead, they are shills. They're an extension of the Democratic Party, and that's plain and simple. And the agenda for the Democratic Party, by the way, if they get elected, is pretty simple. It's not a shock here. It doesn't matter whether the Democrats running from California, West Virginia, they're all working toward the same thing. What do they do? We're going to impeach Donald Trump, but we're not going to tell you. Please, Maxine, just stop saying it. We're going to do it. Just don't say it. And then, of course, they want to keep Obamacare and open borders. Oh, and yeah, they want their crumbs back. Remember, you got the biggest tax cut ever in American history, and Nancy Pelosi called it crumbs? They want the crumbs back so they can spend your money. Now, that's why what we're now heading into, and we're going to have a lot of coverage on this, this is the most important midterm election in modern history. And like every 2 to 4 years, the Democrats were now in the crazy season, and in the crazy season, they used the same playbook, and that is a campaign of identity politics to convince you Republicans are evil. They claim Republicans are racist and sexist and misogynist and xenophobic and homophobic and Islamophobic, that Republicans want dirty air and water, that they want to kill your children, and by the way, if you have a grandmother, they want to throw her over the cliff. Now, to demonstrate this absolute fact, well, tonight's a Hannity history lesson to bring you back. Let's take a look back through time at example after example of Democrats using race and gender to divide this country so that they can convince you Republicans are all evil just to win votes. They'll say and do anything for power. Take a look.
Many Republicans talk in coded racial language about takers and losers. They demonize President Obama and encourage the ugliest impulses of the paranoid fringe.
If you accept the support of Klan sympathizers before you are president, you will accept their support after you're president.
He's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street.
We're going to take it live.
They're going to put you all back
in
chains.
It's wrong what the leader of the Republican Party and this Congress are doing in blocking an accurate census because they don't want to count everyone that they don't think they can count on.
They are in favor of affirmative action if you can dunk the basketball or sink a three-point shot. But they're not in favor of it if you merely have the potential to be a leader in your community and bring people together. Don't tell me we've got a colorblind society.
June 7, 1998, in Texas, my father was killed. He was beaten, chained, and then dragged 3 miles to his death, all because he was black. So when Governor George W. Bush refused to support hate crimes legislation, it was like my father was killed all over again.
When you don't vote, you let another church explode. When you don't vote, you allow another cross to burn.
Yeah, that's Paul Ryan throwing Granny over the cliff. Flash forward back to today, and you think I make this up? We clearly have a whole new level of nastiness coming from the left. Some are so obsessed with hating and taking down this president that they clearly end up looking insane, which is pretty much all liberals today. Look at actor Tom Arnold, is hell-bent on trying to say anything negative, but he's having a hard time with words and answering simple questions.
Do you have any
tapes of the president that the public is not already aware of?
Yes.
You can't tell me you say the content of the tapes because you want people to watch your show.
Yeah, I do. That's it.
Hold on.
That's it.
But is this about ratings for your show in September?
And we're having fun with these Trump tapes. But this is serious to me, Poppy. And I'm not effing around.
I'm asking you.
No, I'm not saying you think I am.
Did Michael Cohen tell you specifically, really just yes or no, that he is cooperating with the authorities should charges be brought? Do you not want to answer the question?
No.
You don't want to answer the question?
Right.
Okay.
Because...
Will you let us know what you learn over the weekend, since you're spending the weekend with Michael Cohen?
No.
Best 30 seconds CNN ever had. They said nothing. And tying Trump to a litany of conspiracies that he has nothing to do with is even harder, which brings us to our next topic, which is the deep state. Finally, welcome the Wall Street Journal. They're now casting doubt. Welcome aboard, guys, on Mueller's ongoing witch hunt, claiming, quote, it's a tainted antecedent political bias. It looks like the IG report is opening everyone's eyes to what we have been showing you for nearly a year. And now 9 Republican lawmakers are now asking the Justice Department to provide the names of every person, past and present, who has worked for Mueller's probe. This comes as Rod Rosenstein and the FBI Director Wray are set up this Thursday before the House Judiciary Committee in what will be an extremely explosive and revealing hearing. And this Wednesday, disgraced FBI agent Peter Strzok, he's going to testify on Capitol Hill behind closed doors. Open the doors, show some sunlight. And finally, we have a bombshell new report from the Hill detailing how the former FBI Director Comey personally killed the deal between the U.S. government and WikiLeaks' Julian Assange. Now, of course, Assange is actually the one living person that we know for sure that would be able to give proof regarding the source of, quote, the emails. Listen to what Assange told me when I interviewed him in January of last year. Did Russia give you this information or anybody associated with Russia?
Our source is not a state party. So the answer for our interactions is no.
You did not get this information about the DNC, John Podesta's emails. Can you tell the American people 1,000% you did not get it from Russia or anybody associated with Russia?
We can say, we have said repeatedly over the last 2 months that our source is not the Russian government and it is not a state party.
You mean we could have gotten the truth from Julian Assange? What did Comey hiding? Or is there something we don't yet, know about? After all we've been through, make the deal. Was it Russia? Prove it. Get it from Assange. Let the American people know the truth. Now, we're going to keep digging and digging until we peel back every layer of this deep state. All right, we have a busy breaking news night. When we come back, we're going to talk to 2 people who have experienced firsthand the left's hatred, Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi and House Majority Whip Steve Scalise. Busy news night. Stay with us. All right, here with reaction to our opening monologue, House Majority Whip Steve Scalise. You may remember he was shot going back a year ago, and thank God he's with us today, and he's making a full recovery. And also Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi. Let me go to your incident. You went to see the Mr. Rogers movie? First mistake.
The documentary about anti-bullying, about tolerance, about respecting each other's differences.
Here's the thing. I want you to tell people how bad this was because the video didn't capture it.
Right.
They're calling you every name in the book.
Right.
You had your boyfriend with you.
Right.
And what did they say to him? That you can say.
Well, we get there, we're waiting in line to get tickets, and it's, a documentary about Mr. Rogers, and all of a sudden this woman comes out of nowhere and starts telling me that I'm ripping babies out of women's arms. Now, who does that sound like? The Peter Fonda quote about Melania. So they can't even come up with their own lines. And I said, I'm glad you're videoing me. Let me explain to you. I never agreed with separating the mothers from the babies, and I'm glad the president signed the executive order. Right, I'm glad the president signed the executive order. And I said, this is a congressional issue. They didn't even know who their congressmen were. So then when they realized that wasn't working, just F you in my face, screaming at the top of their lungs.
They were using the P word, the B word, the F word, the A word, every word imaginable.
And come on, aren't you going to protect her? Come on, aren't
to
you?
your boyfriend.
Oh, trying to get him.
Or were they calling him Blue Eyes?
Blue Eyes, and then
you're going to let us say this to your girlfriend?
Yeah.
Now,
right.
if he would have responded and defended you, he gets arrested.
And that's how I stopped him from defending me. I said, they want to hurt you. This is what they want. And there were 2 more altercations, Sean, after that. After I thought they were gone.
And they literally, at one point, big guys too, surrounded you.
Blocked me from walking in.
Why are you not, if somebody gets in your grill like that, is that not considered itself an attack?
It's an assault. It's an assault if they block me from leaving. But you know what? That's what they wanted. They wanted to be dragged out in handcuffs. They wanted the fame. I wasn't going to give them the 5 minutes of fame.
Why are they doing this to you, Sarah Sanders, Secretary Nielsen?
Right.
And children. We're going to go after Barron. We're going to go after the 4-year-old granddaughter of the president, Melania, Ivanka. Really? The real tough guys? I'm available. Come after me. Follow me. I'll handle it.
Well, and that's it. And they didn't even know what they were talking about. So then they had 2 hours while I was in the movie, and
they just gathered more people, reinforcements.
They called them reinforcements. They Googled, all these things to say, and then that's the video that was shown after the fact. But the police said, we're going to take you out the back door, and I said, no way. I'm walking out the door that I came in. They're not going to bully me.
Congressman, first of all, great play at second base. And you had been in studio just before the game. That was an unbelievable play.
Yeah.
But you were in first play of the game, and I watched your piece with my buddy Steve Ducey. But here's the thing. You got shot a year ago, and I know you don't have feeling basically in one foot. Is that correct?
Yeah, the left foot still has a lot of nerve damage, and, I'm working on that. I do physical therapy 3 days a week. But they sure helped me get a lot better, but I've got a long way to go.
Here's my question. Do you connect what you saw with Secretary Nielsen and what happened to Sarah, what happened to Pam, and the things that are being said about blowing up a White House, and the things that are said about Barron Trump and about the president's granddaughter, do you think these words are igniting something that's going to result in somebody getting severely injured or maybe even killed?
Sean, clearly they are insightful, and I've seen personally how that kind of insightful language can lead to something very dangerous. And so, there are fine lines to cross. We're a nation that was built on this great idea that you can disagree with people. You can express your disagreement, but resorting to violence is never an excuse.
Did Maxine Waters and Cory Booker cross a line by encouraging people to confront people that like Donald Trump in gas stations and restaurants, confront them? What are they trying to do here except create a situation that's going to blow?
I think it crosses the line, Sean. And again, this is about civility. You should go and want to win your ideas in the debate of public opinion. If your ideas are worse, which frankly I think conservative ideas win the day all the time, so then they go and try to resort to name calling and ultimately violence, and that's where I think it crosses the line. And so
you're lucky to be alive today. You know what? And God bless those two. To think that 2 Capitol Hill police officers walked in a wide open field with pistols against a rifle, that was basically a death sentence. But they did it anyway. Yeah. That's how great they are.
And they did it anyway. Heroes in every way. And look, the miracles of God, Sean. God performed real miracles. But we shouldn't get to this. And the left shouldn't we didn't tolerate it under Obama. You and I and so many others didn't agree with his policies, but we never condoned this kind of action.
Do you agree with me? This is all about they're losing, they lost, that the president's successful, that his economic record, foreign policy record, and the fact that Mueller's witch hunt, their great hope, is crumbling.
That's right.
Is that what's causing this and the election pending?
I do. I think people are so angry that the president's succeeding, that our country is thriving, that they're lashing out in any way they can, Sean, at the expense of, I can take care of myself, but at the expense of all these other people. It's ridiculous.
I thought they cared about women and children and had a monopoly of compassion. It's all a crock, and it's all a big lie, and this is about politics. And the reason I ran the history lesson is because they do it every 2 or 4 years. It's their only playbook.
That's right.
And somebody's going to get killed. Mark my words, I pray to God I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But this is getting scary.
I agree.
What you went through, you should not have gone through. I'm sorry. Mr. Scalise, same thing. Congressman, same to you. When we come back, huge breaking news. John Solomon, disgraced FBI Director James Comey, killed a deal that would have given us the proof from Julian Assange. Who gave him the information? We can get the information. Oh, Comey doesn't want you to have the information. He, Sarah Carter, Greg Jarrett, next. Our top stories tonight, The Hill's John Solomon breaking this report, how James Comey interviewed to kill WikiLeaks immunity deal. Now, we reached out to Comey for comment. No, he won't come on this show or comment back to us. Here with more, Fox News contributor and investigative reporter Sarah Carter, The Hill's John Solomon, Fox News legal analyst and author. See that book? It's coming out in next month. Order it now. Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. This is huge. The Russia hoax, the illicit scheme to clear Hillary Clinton, framed Donald Trump. Our own Greg Jarrett. All right, let me get this straight, John Solomon. There's a deal on the table. The one guy that we know on earth that knows exactly where the email so-called hack came from, or it wasn't so, where the hack came from. The one guy that knows, we could have found out and he would have either offered proof positive or was no deal, and we would have been able to either confirm Russia or deny Russia. We know Hillary's email server was hacked by at least 6 foreign intelligence services, so God knows where it came from. But he could have provided evidence and maybe saved the country from all of this crap. And Comey stopped it? Why?
Yeah, it's a great question. No one in the Justice Department really knows why Comey was doing it. Some people didn't even know Comey had done it at the time. But here they are in the middle of negotiations. You've got senior justice officials having very constructive conversations with Julian Assange's lawyer. And all of a sudden, Jim Comey's having a sidebar with Senator Mark Warner. And he passes this message along to Senator Warner saying, cut off the investigations. Tell that lawyer to stand down. We don't want Assange here. We don't know the reasons why. And the consequences go even beyond Russia. At that moment, Assange had a lot of sensitive documents about the CIA. There was a lot of great negotiating going on, and it all fell apart.
This isn't about whether Assange. This is not about WikiLeaks and Assange. But here's a point that I think we've got to be honest about. I'll throw this to Sarah. So people like Julian Assange and Kim.com, these are guys that broke in. Assange hacked the DOD and NASA when he was 16. He's now 45. We have 250,000 full-time IT people working for our government or thereabouts. My question is, fool me once, twice, 3, 4, 10 times, shame on you. Fool me 35 years later, shame on me. Why have we not protected everything?
Because it's almost impossible to do so, Sean. The government relies on its ability to protect its documents solely on the employees that have access to these documents. And if they don't, and obviously there's problems within the system. They know the system has faults. And sometimes people within the system, we saw it with Edward Snowden, we've seen it with others like Chelsea Manning, they are able to access these very highly classified documents and somehow get them out of those very classified environments. I think with Julian Assange, you brought up such an important...
Would the country be better off having found out for sure who did it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You agree, Greg?
Absolutely.
I do. And the inevitable conclusion that one can reach here is that Comey knew
it wasn't Russia. So you think Assange lied to me?
It would expose the Russia hoax, and it would ruin the narrative, by the way, of Democrats.
I believe that too. That's the problem.
Yes. Right.
And
it was a sweetheart deal
make
for the
deal.
government.
Make the deal.
And Comey steps in and he puts a stop to this deal that would have protected intelligence sources and methods.
That was part of it, by the way. They would have protected other people.
Yes. Why in the world would Comey stop it unless it hurt him and his dilating probe of Trump?
Let me go to another topic here. I'll put it on the screen for all of you. The president tweeted it out. So there's a hearing Wednesday with Strzok, and he writes, the hearing of Strzok and other frauds at the FBI DOJ should be shown to the public on live TV, not a closed-door hearing that nobody will see. We should expose these people for what they are. There should be total transparency. I agree with the president. So Strzok is going to get to hide behind closed doors, John Solomon, instead of facing the American people and letting us decide?
Yeah, I think that's one of the frustrations that the American people have. A lot of this investigation has been behind closed doors, and it's only been because of some courageous people coming out and talking that we know half of what we know today. At some point, there has to be a final accounting of what went on here, and I think it starts with what the FBI did right and wrong. There's another development, going on tonight. We still don't have those documents.
Let me ask one follow-up on Assange while it's in my head. Sure. Are you convinced, John Solomon, because you're breaking the story, that Assange he was the guy that would have proof positive? Are you of the belief that he told the truth, that it wasn't Russia?
I'd love to see the evidence he was going to provide. He was going to provide technical evidence that would answer who did not provide these documents. That would be critical to any investigation, and why it was turned away is a great mystery to me. I mean, we should want transparency in this story.
Sarah, go back to this Peter Strzok part. Should it be transparent?
It should absolutely be transparent, and this is the reason why Peter Strzok's attorney didn't want him to be subpoenaed, why he acted like he wanted to voluntarily allow him to speak to Congress. He knew it would be behind closed doors, and he knows that because it's not under subpoena, because he's going to talk to members of Congress, he may not have to answer any of all of these questions.
Let me go last question. Here, I'm bouncing back and forth, but this is in my head. So you're saying that American sources and methods as part of the deal with Assange would be protected?
Would have been protected.
And maybe would save lives?
Yeah.
It had the potential?
Absolutely.
So why don't we do the deal now?
Malware that we utilize on other systems, that would have been protected as part of the deal. It's incomprehensible that this deal...
You think this is the best deal we could have ever gotten that would have helped save lives? Sure. And would have told us proof positive on Russia?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, my God. Why don't we make the deal now?
It's too late now because Julian Assange, according to John Solomon, released some of the documents.
Well, maybe make the best deal you can make so the American people can know whether this was a crock from the beginning.
It'll eventually come out. You cannot hide something this corrupt this long.
All right, when we come back, thank you all. Michelle Malkin, straight ahead. You won't get this news from CBS or fake news CNN.
So we're building the wall, we're fixing the wall, we're spending a lot of money, and we're going for more, and we'll get it done. But Democrats, they want open borders, and they don't mind crime. Think of it. So last week, they thought, oh, they have a great issue. And, I get credit. I don't know if it's true or not, but they're saying I have good political instinct. Who knows? In fact, some people have said I have the greatest political instinct in 50 years. I don't think so. I don't think so. But I have my own feeling. And when I heard them talking about the children, first of all, they were using pictures taken in 2014 when Barack Obama was president. I wasn't president.
That was the president earlier tonight at a rally in South Carolina. Here with reaction. She is the host of the award-winning Michelle Malkin Investigates on CRTV, syndicated columnist and, frankly, adopted sister, my friend Michelle Malkin. Well, it's true. I mean, we know that. This is the Democrats, what they're running on: 4 things. Open borders, keep Obamacare, they want their crumbs back, meaning the tax cuts, and impeaching the president, but don't tell the American people we're going to do it.
Yeah, that's right, Sean, my big brother. It's great to see you again. And I have to admire President Trump for getting up every single day when so many other mainstream Beltway Republicans would have thrown in the towel and capitulated. He gets up every day cheerfully because he loves this country. And however many disagreements I might have with him on minor things, he is fundamentally committed to making sure that we are a country that protects our sovereignty and protects our borders. And he is willing to absorb those slings and arrows of being called a racist and a xenophobe and a nativist and somebody who doesn't care and who is heartless. But it's the Democrats who are the party of anarchy and who are the party of lawlessness. And there's nothing compassionate about allowing our borders to deteriorate.
Pam Bondi, Secretary Nielsen, Sarah Huckabee, Barron Trump, 4-year-old granddaughter, Ivanka, Melania, and dreaming of blowing up the White House, and et cetera.
Yes. Yes, you know, the montages that you show every night are so valuable. You're not going to see it on fake news, like you said. You're not going to see it on fake news stations like CBS or CNN. And this is the truth that people need to see, and it's why they back this president. There is a climate of hate that is on the rise. It's not new. You and I have been talking about it for years, Sean. I wrote a book in 2006 called Unhinged.
Every day he's successful, they feel their power and their odds of winning in 2018 slipping away. And to me, they're cheering. They need President Trump to fail for them to get power back. And they're openly advocating it like Bill Maher.
Yes, and that is the exact correct diagnosis. Why are we seeing this explosion and this resurgence of all of this insanity and incivility? It's because they are losing on the political and policy arena. The thing that's especially dangerous is that it's not just prominent Republican officials and cabinet members, and it's horrible what's happened to the people who have dedicated their lives to serving this president. It's happening to people who are behind the scenes every day as rank and file, and I am especially troubled and alarmed, and I want to see more members of Congress talking about this, Sean, about the demonization of immigration and customs agents.
Here's my question.
This is not the fringe. These are mainstream Democrats who are turning our rank and file officers on the border. Yes.
It's so now they're attacking women and children almost on a daily basis. That any hope of re-election they feel slipping away. Here's my question. I'm getting to the point I'm worried somebody's really going to either get hurt or get killed here. Am I overreacting to what I'm seeing?
No, of course you're not. These are blatant and brazen incitements to violence. And it already has happened. You had the wonderful and brave and so inspiring Steve Scalise on your show. And there have been a number of people who've been targeted. You had, conservative political organizations whose offices have been targeted. Death threats. It's something that I've had to deal with. Anybody in public life. And you know what? It is going to backfire. It is going to backfire. Maxine Waters, keep flapping your mouth open.
All right, Michelle Malkin, always good to see you. Thank you for being with us. When we come back, fake news. Jim Acosta called out in the crowd. This is the best tape we've ever shown. Next.